Hi friend, and welcome back to Marvelous Friends, your home for all things Marvel Cinematic Universe and beyond. I'm Rhett, and I am still talking Jessica Jones Season 3, so let's move on with Episode 6. Roll that credit. Things look to be going up and up for our team as police are on the scene to collect all the body parts from the tanker. Now all that's left is to make sure that they are able to tie Salinger to these bodies. Trish, of course, is eager and gung-ho to run over to Salinger's apartment and take him away to the police right away. Jessica, of course, talking her down as saying that they have done their part and now the law has to do theirs. Trish's plan wouldn't have worked anyways, as Salinger is not home. And good news, Eric is alive, though he is tied up and under Salinger's control right now at a mysterious location. That is clearly a kitchen. Obviously a kitchen. No question, a kitchen. It may have just come from my experience with restaurants, but I instantly recognize this as a commercial kitchen or catering facility, even with like the small amount of the background we saw. It was the sheet pans. It gave it away instantly. Anyways, we see Eric being tied up and prepared for his photo shoot, which is the ritual of Salinger and his murders. During this process, we get to learn a lot about why Salinger does this and his backstory, learning that this is a twisted version of artistic expression for Salinger. It turns out that he just wants to capture the moment of confession, though he reaches this moment of confession through knife torture that results in the victim's death. We come to learn, though, that there is one person that survived this process as we combine the bodies and the picture catalog, learning that there are only 7 bodies but 8 photos. We will come back to that in a moment. Much of the information we learn is through a series of monologues provided freely by Salinger himself, though he ironically claims that Eric is trying to get him to talk more in order to live longer. We spend a lot of time here in this episode, so there's not a lot of plot, but we do get a lot of good backstory and rounding out of the Salinger character. A quick rundown of everything we learn from Salinger's monologues. It turns out that he has a brother named Donnie who is really into photography. That being where this whole photography kink comes from in his murder process, always feeling that he was the better photographer and irritated that Donnie got all the praise. In fact, Donnie was the outright favorite of the 2 brothers by their father. Of course, Donnie eventually had an accident that resulted in his death, their father being so distraught and upset that he was left with the lesser son that he actually stabbed Salinger at Donnie's funeral during the reception. Donnie being gone and Salinger being treated less and less by their father, he was out to prove himself. Of course, moving forward, this explains how all the degrees and the constant need to be better. Now, or at least be the smartest person in the room. Now this takes us to the current Salinger, who is irritated with the world, who has not worked for everything like he feels that he has, having earned everything he's gotten, and sick and tired of cheaters getting there before he does. And sick and tired of cheaters getting there before he does, believing that supers are the next step in this series of cheating. Unfortunately for Eric, it is kind of revealed through this series of knife torture that he too is a super, him becoming more and more distraught over the close proximity to Salinger and his evil. He of course refuses to admit this though to Salinger, and Salinger presses on with more knife torture to try to get this confession that he too is a cheater, though critiquing Eric's confession the entire way through, saying it is not right for the moment of capture on film. We now turn the story back to Jessica and her personal driver and escort, Trish. Waiting for them at the office is Dorothy, Trish's mother, who is very angry that Trish has once again missed a work meeting and she was forced to cover for her, blaming Jessica instantly that this is the reason why Trish is having so many problems is her re-involvement of Jessica in her life. Jessica, ready to tell the truth to Dorothy, wants Trish to reveal her powers. Trish obviously objects. Ignoring her objection, Jessica immediately tells Dorothy of Trish's new powers. And when Dorothy doesn't believe what Jessica is saying, promptly pushes Trish out the window, knowing that she will land on her feet like the cat she is, thus giving Dorothy the proof that she needs of Trish's new super abilities. Surprisingly though, Dorothy's okay with this and quickly jumps into momager role, wanting to be the PR director for the hero team. Barry, Eric's sister, now returns to Malcolm's apartment after he sought her out and convinced her to return in his own special way. That being tracking her down at the street corner she works at and promptly beating the hell out of his boss to repay the shiner that he gave him. Barry, out of fear of his anger, quickly agrees to return to the apartment to save her employer. However, Malcolm doesn't care if she comes back and turns to her, telling telling her that her brother is currently being held by a serial killer and that she has already been the target of this killer as well, meaning that she is most likely his logical next target. This added level of fear makes her return immediately. As Malcolm explains to Jess, Barry needs to want to be there to actually stay. While they're waiting for Barry to return, though, Jessica uses Malcolm's facial recognition software to ID the 8th victim who most likely survived. And winner, winner, chicken dinner, they're able to recognize him, and he is a chef. Jessica quickly tracks down our surviving chef and asks him about his time with Salinger, and it turns out that the chef didn't realize that he was really in any danger leading up to the events. It turns out Salinger had asked the chef if he would be willing to let him photograph him, and the chef agreed. And then when he was tied up and Salinger started setting up the cameras, the chef just thought he was a little kinky and into some bondage type stuff, which apparently the chef was okay with. It wasn't until Salinger started ranting about an overcooked steak that the chef had provided him at a previous meal and waving a knife around that he started to realize that something wasn't right and Salinger might be a little crazy. Out of desperation, the chef quickly kissed Salinger on the mouth, this causing Salinger to freak out and run off, leaving the chef behind. The chef making the assumption that he doesn't think that Salinger had ever been kissed by anyone before. The chef then is left overnight to rest, all tied up, and one of his other kitchen staff finds him the next morning and unties him. He goes on to mention that the kitchen that this all took place in is now abandoned as they have moved the restaurant. This allowing Jessica to piece together that this is most likely where Eric is being held. Along with Trish, Jessica runs off to save Eric at this abandoned kitchen and are successful. Though, unfortunately, this revealing that Jessica is not working alone, and her and Eric aren't the only two supers, revealing that there is a third, that being Trish, though luckily she is wearing her mask of sorts. Being focused on saving Eric, Jessica and Trish do unfortunately let Salinger get away. Back at Jessica's apartment, Eric confesses everything that he told and learned from Salinger, revealing that he believes that this is only going to make things worse for them, and that through this interaction has only made Salinger more angry and focused all of his energy at supers, meaning that he will be coming after them that much more. Could this potentially mean that some of our other Netflix series supers could be making an appearance as future Salinger victims? I think it would be a nice tie-in and also would kind of play into those finalization of all those characters as well if we do get this. Things continue to get worse over at the law office of Hogarth as we watch Jerry and her clearly established number 2 in the office, Kaya, try to keep as many clients as they can, though more are dropping like flies every minute. Things only get worse for Jerry as she tries to visit the wake of Peter for some reason. Well, not for some reason, clearly trying again to win back Kith. However, she comes across their son first, who clearly says that she is not wanted there and that Kith does not want to talk to her. Jerry offers the plate of bagels that she brought anyways, but the son wants nothing to do with it and knocks them out of her hand, unfortunately also knocking Jerry over in the process, her falling and breaking her wrist. ALS, weak bones and muscles and all of that after all. This devastates the boy, and we see him falling to the ground crying, obviously overwhelmed emotionally from everything that's going on in his life, and this just being the threshold over the edge. Jerry quickly gets up, playing it off, and backs away quickly and leaves. My thoughts on this episode are a little mixed. I am happy to see Eric is alive, as I think his powers are pretty neat and may come in very handy moving forward. However, he is clearly not interested in the heroics, as he's mentioned that several times over the series, including again in this episode. It was really nice also to learn a lot of backstory about Salinger, but again, we really didn't have much action in this episode. It all kind of seemed a little stagnant and stuck in that kitchen. However, I would love to know your thoughts as well. What did you think of the episode, and what do you think is going to happen next? Let me know down in those comments below, and as always, make sure to subscribe and set those alerts so you make sure to stay up on everything as I continue on through this series. Until then, though, I love you all 3,000. I hope you have a marvelous rest of your day. Bye, friend.